Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by Lynda.com, the online learning platform with over 3,000 on-demand video courses to help you strengthen your business, technology, and creative skills. For a free 10-day trial, visit lynda.com/knowhow. That's LYNDA.com/knowhow.
Hey, Bryan.
Yeah.
So, I want to do a show?
I guess. What would we talk about?
Yes, there's some cool stuff. Maybe talk a little bit about that car hacking thing.
Mm-hmm. Maybe some Flash, how to disable Flash.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'd love to do that. That'd be fun. We could probably continue with the whole. We were doing some germ warfare. Maybe teach people how to make, some petri dish sample plates.
Yeah.
Do some of that, maybe.
Finish up with some Maker Faire or something.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that sounds good. Yeah, I think if we did all that, that'd
be a good show.
It'd be a pretty cool show.
Yeah.
Welcome to Know-How. It's the Twitch show where we build, break, bend, upgrade, destroy, disassemble, reassemble.
Never in the same order.
Never in the same order. I'm Father Robert Ballecer.
And I'm Bryan Burnett.
And for the next hour or so, we're going to be giving you some of the projects that we've been working on so you can take them home and geek out on your own.
Yeah, Padre, it's been a long weekend.
It has been. It has been. Actually, my mom got hit by a car.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
Is she doing okay?
She's okay, but every time she tells a story, it gets
more and more elaborate.
She's a badass.
Like
now.
Michael Bay is directing this accident.
The actual thing is, she was in a crosswalk and some guy was texting or something and hit her with his SUV, which is bad. But it was kind of low speed, and so she didn't get overly hurt. But then it became, well, what she did was she had martial arts training from when we were kids. So she had done like a block, which like pushed her back and absorb most. Now she did a block and then she did a roll.
Nice.
And
tuck and roll.
Tuck and roll.
Yeah. We learned about that.
So I actually want a green screener and I want to like have her do a Kamehameha and just, just destroy the car.
Yeah, I think I saw one of your posts on Twitter and it was like, my mom went full ninja on this SUV.
She totally did.
And now I'm just imagining like she jumped into the air and it did like a 360 pan
around her. She did a crane kick.
Yeah.
She's like, what? What you got? What you got?
Well, I'm glad she's okay.
Yeah, she's okay. She's okay. But it got me thinking about the smart cars, because this guy he says that he was fiddling around with his controls. He has one of these nicer SUVs. It's got all the stuff.
All the bells and whistles.
The bells and whistles, and evidently those bells and whistles aren't just a danger to pedestrians who may be hit by distracted drivers. They could be a danger to you, the driver.
Other drivers?
And anyone near
anyone
your
who rides a motorcycle?
Yeah. Or, yes, definitely. We talked a little bit about this before. This was the hacking of the CAN. That's the Component Area Network.
Yes. And
Controller Area Network.
I feel like this is also coming up around the time of Black Hats.
It always comes up. In fact, the last big announcement we had for this was back in is it April, January, somewhere.
Something like that.
For Black Hat Asia. Remember, there was a guy who released a little kit that you could plug into the onboard diagnostic port, and it would basically give you access to everything in the car.
Yeah, he was just some student or something, right? Like an intern at.
Well, I mean, that's what Black Hat DEF CON is about. Yes, there's some malicious stuff going on because we like to use things the way they're not supposed to. But it's also a lot of, do you have any idea how insecure the daily things that you use are?
Right. Well, I mean, it can be malicious, but it's also, we are exposing these exploits and then talking about them so that we can be more secure instead of, just exploiting things and then not telling anyone and taking advantage of that.
Exactly. And also remember, last year there was the BMW hack, the connected drive, which used the entertainment system which was streaming to the internet in
Yep.
order to get in, and then you could start fiddling around.
You
And
could
then that
unlock
was
the car.
You could unlock the car, and that was the extent of it. I mean, there were some whispers that you could possibly get to the other components of the vehicle, but the manufacturers were essentially saying, no, those are air-walled. They're firewalled off. They're not actually connected to the entertainment system.
And then we learned they weren't.
So connected. Everything is connected.
I mean, it seems like the car manufacturers are just years behind when it comes to this sort of like software security stuff.
Absolutely, and it's a very common syndrome. This is the same thing that we get with the Internet of Things, and that is people who aren't used to having things connected to the internet that are now connected to the internet.
Right.
And they shouldn't be, because no one has ever even considered the security ramifications. In this particular case, there's a group of researchers who are going to be presenting at Black Hat. In fact, I think you're going to help me. I've got an appointment with them. We're going to
Nice.
tape a nice little interview.
Shoot it.
It was Chris Miller and Charlie Miller and Chris Ballecer.
Okay.
And what they did was they took advantage of the Uconnect on Chrysler vehicles.
Right.
Now, that's the little radio-connected device that allows you to access the cellular network, so you could turn your car into a hotspot. You can stream podcasts or shows to the vehicle.
Right.
And of course, so that your vehicle can report its health to the service that you subscribe to, right? Is my engine okay? And what's my miles per gallon? Is my car
It's
going
a
out?
smart car.
It's a smart car.
Yeah.
Well, these researchers teamed up with a Wired journalist, and he's done work with them before. And so they put him in a Jeep Chrysler.
Yeah. Well, 2015.
Jeep Cherokee, sorry, Jeep Cherokee, yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
And essentially, I mean, imagine this: you've got two security researchers who put you in this car, and then they say,
Go
no
for
matter
a
what
drive.
happens, don't panic. Just don't panic. So that doesn't instill me with a lot of confidence here.
Yeah.
So they had him going 70 miles an hour down the highway, and suddenly the radio turns on, goes to a radio station, goes full blast. He can't turn it off.
Right.
The air conditioner starts turning on and off, and then they disable the transmission. It like goes into neutral. And he
That's
can't
when
shift
things get really scary.
Yeah. So I mean, that first stuff, that's like, oh,
Okay. Funny.
you messed
I
with
think
my
they
radio.
even like made a picture of themselves come up on the dash.
Exactly, which you can do because it's just a media center.
Yeah.
And then they also said they disabled the brakes, which is you see him going into a ditch, and they took over the steering, because steering is just, it's a column connected to a hydraulic system that
Right.
gives you, a little bit of extra oomph in your turn. Well, they were able to take control of everything.
See, that's where there's no air gap there. Why are these two systems connected at all?
Exactly. Not only is there no air gap, but they could do this from anywhere.
Right. They did this from miles away,
They
right?
did this
were
from like one of the guy's basements. And the scary thing is, yesterday there was a report of, there was another team who did the exact same thing, not using the cellular network, which already you think is a bad idea. That's what they did in this case, the Wired case. They used the, you know how digital radio, there's a carrier channel that gives you like, what's the name of the song?
Right, yeah.
They used that to get into the vehicle.
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and we are starting to see this little pushback. Chrysler says they've already released a patch that does away with this, so you shouldn't be able to exploit the system like that.
But you know what the kicker is on that? Is that you have to actually bring the car to the dealership to get it updated.
Yes. Well, because they don't want you to have to be able to upgrade your firmware just by downloading something. That would be a bad idea. Can you imagine if you...
And how many people are like, let alone, so the people who watch this show or watch Security Now will tell their friends who own these cars, but the people who are unaware, who's going to bring it into the dealer to get their firmware updated?
Now, I love this part. The day after they released this, I started poking around because there are already some kits, so I was able to start playing with a connected car we have at the community. My brother stays over, and he's got a Jeep Cherokee.
No.
And so I'm like showing him, I'm like, dude, everything you have in the car, I can control. And he goes, yeah, well, I mean, what, you're not going to crash me into a bridge or something? I said, no, but
maybe.
You've got a Bluetooth connected device in your car so that you can use the car as a speakerphone. That means I can listen to you at any time, and you will have no idea that I'm there.
Ooh, that is really
he starts
creepy.
thinking, he goes, that's not cool, man. That's not cool. I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I would not want my brother listening in like that.
Yeah. Okay, so from the pure geekery side, this is what I find interesting. They used a pivot attack. We've talked about this on one of my other shows, This Week in Enterprise Tech, with Raphael Mudge. And the idea is they come in, and they infect the head unit. That's the entertainment system, right?
Yeah.
And that's connected to all the the lights and the windshield wipers and the stereo. But then because that's not air gapped, they take over that unit and they use it to attack the other controllers in the network, which includes things like the engine control,
the brakes,
transmission,
the steering,
the brakes, the steering. Yeah, it's a mess. I can't wait for the presentation at Black Hat. I want to see exactly how they did it, because I want to see if they were just using the same tools that I was able to download, or if they made some like custom stuff. Yeah.
I don't know. In any case, it's making me want to hang on to my old dumb car a little bit longer.
That's what Tanya was saying. She's like, I'm gonna buy the oldest piece of junk with like a carburetor and no computers. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much the only way you're safe. Because I mean, when you think about it, we kind of expect our cars to be smarter. We want them to be smarter, right?
Yeah. I mean, last night when I was doing All About Android, Ron Amadeo came on and he was talking about the Android Auto car that he was testing out, and they're still running Gingerbread, I think. And he was able to just pull that from the car, and he's going to play with it himself and see what he can do with it.
Oh,
you know, I mean, it's Android,
it's so cute.
Yeah.
Little Android device.
I don't know if I would be okay with these devices if they were like kind of air gapped. You know?
Yeah, and I think that's what we're going to start demanding. We're going to start saying, look, and actually, remember there was a story about a plane not too long ago. They were saying, well, he was able to hack the avionics.
Oh yeah, from like the jack in the armrest.
And
is that true?
People were saying, well, no, those systems are air gapped. It would make no sense for you to put those on the same network. Well, you could say the same thing about the cars. It's like, why is the engine control on the same network as the stereo? Does that make any sense whatsoever?
Yeah.
And it does if you're an engineer who didn't think you would ever have to defend your engine from a denial of service attack.
Well, that's where it comes down to, right? That's why Black Hat and stuff exists, because there's so many people that make these things that don't think about
We're
that.
the good guys.
Yeah, I guess so.
We're here to help, man.
We're here to help.
All right, let's move on. Let's get away from the connected car. If I do get some more information, I'm actually going to borrow my brother's car and
remotely drive it around.
Well, it'll be like a drone, right?
Yeah. Until you hit a fence.
A huge, terrifying drone.
Absolutely.
Let's not talk about drones. In fact, I want to move on to another topic that is security-based, and that is, Brian.
Yeah?
We have to pour one out.
For the homies?
For Flash.
For Flash.
Yeah.
Flash has been around forever.
It has been around forever. And you know, I don't want to make fun of Flash. Flash really did bring us into the internet age, into the age of media. It was the tool that people used to really show everybody.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the tool that people really use to exploit people.
Well, that too, but it's because it became so ubiquitous. I remember I was watching like Mondo mini shows when I was, what, 16 years ago, and that was all Flash-based.
Yeah.
And it really said, oh, okay, this internet thing is more than just email. It's more than just transferring files. I could use this as a network type thing. I could get my entertainment over this.
I remember watching cartoons, Flash cartoons, pretty early on.
Right. But we've reached a time where I think most of us have realized that Flash is old.
Yeah.
It's bloated. It does not perform the way it should. It leaks memory. It's a resource hog.
Yeah.
It makes things crash. And of course, recently we're learning that because it's so popular, it is a huge vector for exploit.
Right. And so we're going to talk about how to at least disable it today?
Yes. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not going to tell people to yank Flash off their system, because there are still a few things you're going to want to access out there that will require Flash.
But at the very least, keep it updated, right?
At the very least, keep it updated, but what we really want to do is we want to make sure that it's not on automatically, because we don't want someone to use that as a way to infect our systems.
Right, because what could happen is you open up a web page and then it just Flash opens right away. Yeah.
And remember, Hacking Team, we found out that they had 3 zero-day, which means they were in the wild and they were actively infecting computers. 3 zero-day exploits for Adobe Flash that nobody knew about. And if that's one team of security researchers, imagine what else is out there. So yeah, let's set aside the fact that there's a place in my heart for Flash. There's just no place in my computer for it. Let's talk a little bit about what we need to do. We need to stop using Flash. I'm going to show you how to do it for 2 popular browsers, for Chrome and for Firefox. And it's actually a slightly different process for each one. I'm not going to tell you for IE, because
who uses IE?
Don't use IE. Just don't. Just
well, IE is being replaced soon, anyway, isn't it?
It's going to be something new and better. And what's that thing called, Alex?
It's not Spartan.
Edge, Microsoft
basically.
Edge. But let's talk a little bit about Chrome first. So Alex, if you go ahead and go to my computer, the thing about Chrome is Chrome includes Flash. It's part of the browser. You don't have to install a plugin. That was one of the things that people liked about Chrome, which was it just worked out of the box. The problem with that, though, is if you go into the standard plugins area, so if we go to settings and we look at the extensions and the plugins, there is no entry here for Flash. But I do have Hodor and N-Cage.
Oh, well, yeah. The N-Cage one is one of my favorites.
So you might be looking at this and going, well, where do I don't see it. Where's Flash? Actually, you have to go to a separate page. You're going to go to Chrome. So go to the address bar, type Chrome, //plugins instead of extensions. What that will do is that will bring you here. Now this
is like lifting the hood.
This is lifting the hood a little bit, and you're going to notice right here, I can either always allow it to run, which obviously I don't want to do, or I can disable. What I like about doing it this way is if there's something I absolutely need to use Flash to look at, I can come back in here and just as easily re-enable it. But right now, Flash is no longer running in Chrome, which is nice. Which means, like for example, if I go to live.twit.tv, I'm going to have an issue because, well, not us, but our CDN, our content distributor, uses Flash in order to broadcast. And yeah, it's just going to
Please don't blame us.
Don't blame that. But we will show you a workaround. We're not going to leave you out in the lurch. All right, so that's Chrome. Now let's take a look at Firefox. Firefox is a little bit different because you do have to install the plugin for this. So I have the plugin, the most recent plugin for Adobe Flash installed on this. What I want to do is I want to go to the menu first. 1 second, sorry. Right up here. And then I'm going to go into the add-ons. And in the add-ons, it's just right here. It lists it just like any other plugin. Now, the funny thing about this is I can't remove the plugin from Firefox. What I would actually have to do is I would have to uninstall it from my system, which I don't want to do because, again, I want the possibility of using it in case it's something I absolutely need to turn on. But I want to make sure that it's never going to run without me knowing about it. I don't want to run in the background where it can be
without your permission.
vector, right? Yeah. So I just do this. I go to, instead of always activate, I'm going to put never activate. So now it's disabled, and unless I come back in here and turn it back on, it's not going to run Flash. No one has access to Flash. But just like Chrome, this means that if I go to a site that
like our
requires Flash, like our live stream, I really should have plugged this into the wired network because the wireless on this table is horrible. It's going to do this. I'm going to get this horrible little Yeah. So some people would say, oh, well, that's stupid. I mean, why does Twit TV use Flash? Well, again, we don't use Flash. It's our content distributor, and we can't tell them to stop using Flash. Eventually, they'll probably get around to it. Fortunately, there's a way around all that. You don't need to use Flash to watch the Twit TV stream. In fact, there's a much better way to watch the live stream than going to live.twit.tv.
So there's a way to use Flash without using Flash? Or?
No, it doesn't use Flash whatsoever.
Okay. How do we do that?
VLC. Now, this is a program that I've hopefully, if you've been watching Know How, you already have installed on your computer. It's the Video LAN client. Incredibly versatile. We use this for everything.
That's like the first thing I download, usually when I do a fresh install of Windows.
It's cross-platform, and it does more than just play. I mean, you can transcode with this thing. You can capture live streams. We've used it to pull videos off of YouTube. In this particular case, we're going to use it to be able to watch the live stream, the Twit live stream, without having to use Flash. So, Alex, go ahead and jump over here. I'm going to start up VLC. Now, you'll notice that under the... can you make that bigger? There we go.
Enhance.
Zoom. I click Media, and I put Open Network Stream. Now, there's an address. We're going to make sure that this is in the show notes here. Don't worry about it. You don't have to memorize it right now. But the address is 209.131.99.99. That is the IP address, the IPv4 address for BitGravity.
Okay.
Now, I can put /twit/live/low, and it will give me the low stream.
And it'll just play continuously.
Right.
Through.
Or I could put /twit/live/high, and it will give me the high resolution stream. Here's the cool thing. If I go ahead and play that, and again, I'm sorry because I really should have plugged this in. It's going to take a while with our wireless network. It just, whoa.
Whoa, Inception.
Whoa, we're incepting. Let's see how many generations we can get here. It's gonna go. It's gonna go.
So that's pretty nifty.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about this is also you can use this to capture the live stream, because if you're one of these people who you can't miss a live moment. You can actually use this tool to capture all the things that happened when you're not watching.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, some people will say, well, I don't want to have to remember that address. That address is annoying.
It's so long.
I know, right?
Such a long address.
It is such a long address. So what we can do is we can actually make a shortcut to make it easier for people to get into BitGravity. So we're going to shut this down.
Shut it down.
What we're going to do is we're going to open up Notepad. And I'm going to go ahead and put in that address. Now remember, it's, let me make my fonts real big so that you all can see. Where is that? How big can it get? 72, dang. Okay, so I've made, what I've done is this is that exact same line, http://209.131.99.99/twit/live/low for the low resolution stream, or /high for the high resolution stream.
Yep.
Now I just save this as, I'm going to save it as twit low. I'll put it on my desktop, like so, and love. And I'm going to give it the extension of VLC. When I do that, I just created a shortcut here, and when I click that, it will actually start up the player with the stream parameters already entered. And so I can have one for high and one for low.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty nifty.
And I don't have to worry about having VLC enabled, Flash enabled on any of my browsers.
Right, right.
So, you know, people actually in our group that came from the Google Plus group, people were saying, I know I should turn off Flash, but I want to watch the live stream.
Yeah.
I need to see more live goodness. You can see live goodness without opening yourself up to exploit.
Well, wasn't there some news recently that people are moving away from Flash and going to HTML5 for most things, like YouTube, I think, is switching over to HTML5?
We're getting to the point where all the major organizations, at least, are going to be moving away from Flash, just because, I mean, at this point,
because of the reasons we listed.
Yeah, there are better technologies out there, and Adobe really doesn't have any incentive to really redevelop Flash. They don't make their money off Flash. They make it off the Creative Cloud.
Right.
So why would they dump a ton of resources into duplicating something that you can find with other tools?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. When we come back, I want to do one little last trip over to Maker Faire, because it gave me an idea for a future project. A new material that we could play with, very easy to work with, that people might be able to use to maybe create friendly quadcopters and projects indoors, maybe fish tanks, stuff like that.
Yeah, I was wondering why that little light bulb went up over your head when we saw that project.
Yeah. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a break to thank the first sponsor of this episode of Know How. Now, Brian, let me ask you something.
What's that?
You know what the no hole is?
Yes, that's where we get most of our work done, down in the basement.
And you know what that no hole does? It fills up the knowledge hole, right?
Oh, that no hole. Up here? Yeah, with all the creases and crevices.
Creases and crevices that just need to be filled with information. It's one of these things that we do as humans. I mean, if you're watching the show, it means you're a tinkerer. It means you're a maker. It means that you
break stuff.
You break stuff. Yeah, we like to break stuff because we like to fix stuff, right? And maybe use it in a way that wasn't intended to be used. Well, you know, if you want to do that, if you want to fill up your knowledge hole, if you want to be a maker, if you want to be a know-it-all, then you're going to need a place on the internet where you can go to find a repository of knowledge. And that's right there. It's lynda.com. Now, lynda.com is the place to go, the one-stop shop for knowledge that we use here at twit.tv. Oh, it's not just for computers. I mean, you can go there if you want to learn more about, say, Excel. You want to brush up on your business skills. Let's say you want to learn about photography or maybe drone videography. There are all courses there for that. But there are also things on personal development and
C++.
It's really a great place to go. Now, who should go to lynda.com? The people who are curious, the people who want to make things, the people who want to make things happen. Whether you want to take better photos, master Photoshop, sharpen your HTML skills, or whatever, you can trust Lynda to have the information that you need. Now, if you're interested in coding or app development, lynda.com's latest courses include a course on distributing Android apps, as well as a course on building data-driven apps with the iOS SDK and SQLite. There's also a fantastic multi-course called Code Clinic. I really like this. It's where experts look at common code challenges and offer their solutions using C++, C#, Java, PHP, Python, and Ruby. lynda.com just released 4 new entries covering JavaScript, C, R, and Swift, which is Apple's latest programming language for iOS and OS X apps. We have used lynda.com here. You've probably heard this story, but I love telling it because we switched from Macs running Final Cut to Windows PCs, really fast Windows PCs, running Adobe Premiere. Well, we had lynda.com as our reference whenever we needed to figure out how a tool worked in Premiere versus how it worked in Final Cut. Lynda.com was the place to go. And the reason why it was the place to go is because they provide us with transcripts. We don't have to sit through an entire 4-hour series on Adobe Premiere. We can look for the one problem that we're having, the one piece that we need, and it'll tell us exactly where to go. That's one of the things that makes lynda.com not just a source of knowledge, but a repository of things that you already know. Now, you can learn at your own pace. You can stream thousands of video courses. You can browse each course transcript. You can take notes and refer to them later. And you can create playlists to share with your friends so they can learn the same things that excite you. We want you to try lynda.com. Your lynda.com membership gives you unlimited access to training on hundreds of topics, all for one low, flat rate. Whether you're looking to become an expert, you're passionate about a hobby, or you just want to learn something new, I want you to visit lynda.com/knowhow. That's lynda.com/knowhow and sign up for your free 10-day trial. That's lynda.com/knowhow. And we thank lynda.com for their support of Know-How. Hey, Brian.
Yes?
Want to take one last trip over to Maker Faire?
I did. I had a lot of fun at Maker Faire.
I did too, although we did miss the giant Megabot.
Well, there's only so much we can do and see one in one day. Next year. We'll save that for next year.
Well, Alex, you want to do us a favor and push the magic button? Ballecer here at Maker Faire 2015, where Maker meets the great outdoors. I'm standing next to Alex, who's going to explain what Oru Kayak is doing for people who want to get out. What is this?
It's a foldable kayak. It's the original origami kayak, actually. You can fold it up to a small box right there, as you can see. You can pack it up and just hike with it, really. Put it in the back of your car. Put it in the closet. It's just very portable, very easy to travel with. It's a great option for people that have a small space to store their gear and just want to get outside.
I actually do live with someone who does kayaking all the time. He has 3 kayaks. They're huge, they're unwieldy. He has to keep them on top of his truck or on a loading rack. The idea that I could fold this up into what is essentially check-in baggage, that's completely different. Now, the material that you chose for this, it feels like heavy-duty corrugated plastic. What is this?
That's exactly what it is. It's corrugated plastic. It's the same material they use for U.S. postal boxes, but we have it extruded especially for us. It's thicker, stronger, super lightweight. It's perfect for boats, really. And yeah, as you said, boats are usually very, very heavy. This is super lightweight. It's amazing.
There are going to be those people, especially kayak aficionados, who are going to say, I'm not going to trust my life to something that is used in postal box office containers. What have you done to this to make sure that you actually maintain rigidity and the stability while you're actually using it?
Well, we also put in some bulkheads on each end of the kayak. So really, it's very rigid boat. We've done extensive testing on it. It's super safe. It's very stable. It's a great boat. It's super fun. Since it's so lightweight also, it's very easy to maneuver. It's a great fun.
Where can they go if they want to find out more information?
They can go to www.orukayak.com. Check our website. We have a ton of videos. We're launching a new one in a couple of days on Kickstarter. Back us up. Check us out.
I'm Father Robert Ballecer, and that's been your first look. Every year I say I'm not going to come to this next year, and every year I go, you know what? I want to come back and see what they get next year.
Yeah, and the thing I liked about that plastic was it was tough, but super light.
Super light, and that's actually what gave me the idea to start playing with this.
We just happened to find these in the studio.
Yeah, this is Coroplast. It's corrugated plastic. This is the same stuff that they made that kayak out of. It's actually very inexpensive. I was able to buy 4 of these sheets for something like $6. It's not that much, but they're incredibly strong for the weight.
Yeah. Well, you can see it have like.
Yeah,
I don't know,
well, it's like, you know, you see it all the
structure
time. The cardboard, you see
Yeah,
that
it's like
cardboard thing? It goes back and forth, so it gives it rigidity and it actually gives it strength. And if you like slice this and then put it the other way so it's against the grain, it makes it incredibly strong.
Nice.
Yeah. So, Brian, what I was thinking of is for a while now we've been talking about possibly making a quadcopter that was like the SEMA and that we could fly it indoors and not hurt people, but also had a little bit more
oomph.
A
little something, something.
Because the SEMAs can't really carry anything, and they can't really, you know, do anything other than flip around. Well, I'm thinking what we could probably do is take something like this. These are the 1806 motors from Ready to Fly quads, or the 1806 motors that you have on the original Hobby King build that we created. Take it off that heavy frame, and we could build a frame out of corrugated plastic.
And then when you crash it, you don't have to worry about snapping a frame.
Exactly, and because we make it so light, and because we essentially make the craft destructible, and we put the rotors on the inside, I'm thinking we could make something that you can fly indoors, you can fly near people without worrying about hurting them, that actually does have the ability to do things like lift cargo and speed around the office. Carry
a camera. Yeah, I'd like to do a project like that.
So could I propose a little something?
Yeah, a contest?
Yeah, a little contest. How about what we're going to do over the next couple of weeks? I want you to build a quadcopter using corrugated plastic, and I'll get you parts. We'll have the same parts, so no one should have an unfair advantage.
But the frame will be custom.
The frame will be custom. You build it your way. I'm going to be building it my way, and let's find out who makes the best indestructible, non-hurty quadcopter.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. There you go. So, folks, you heard it here on Know How. We're going to be showing you how to take one of your older builds and turning it into a house-friendly, kid-friendly, dare I say, pet-friendly, safe quadcopter.
Whose pets are we going to test this on?
It's going to be bad.
Yeah. Hey, Ozzy, come over.
I already foresee. Okay, now for this next part, we are going to need some
gloves.
Of these. Yeah. Remember, we left off last week making an absolute mess, making our Petri dishes, right?
We boiled over some stuff.
We did. We were making the agar, which we were going to pour into Petri dishes so that we had some sample trays.
Right. And then you showed me, hey, look, you can buy it with it already in the Petri dish.
Right. Now, I did cook up the rest of the agar.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did. And so, as you can see, if you go to the overhead here, Alex, I've got a set here that I've used the other set, but these are nice and clear. This is what we want to see. There is no scarring. There's nothing growing in these. They're absolutely clear, which tells me that, okay, they haven't been contaminated. I did screw up a tiny bit. I capped these before it was down to about 30 degrees. The reason why you don't want to cap it earlier is because you get condensation.
Okay.
Which is, you really don't want that.
That's right, because you said in the last episode water will help it travel, or something, help the bacteria travel.
We're going to put swabs in here in very specific patterns. And if there's water on it, it actually helps it to like migrate.
Move around.
We don't really want that.
I'm just imagining like little bacteria, like woo,
it's a party,
in a little corrugated plastic canoe.
Now we've got 5 here because we are going to need 5. This one right here. This is our control. That's why this is primary control. There's nothing that's going to go in here. It's already sealed off with this tape.
So it should remain like that.
It should remain like this. If it doesn't, if something starts growing in here,
then we know we're off.
It means my agar was contaminated, and we need to basically start the experiment over again.
Okay.
But it should stay. It should, and I'm going to keep it with all the rest of the plates. But if something starts to grow in here, I have an issue.
Right. Okay.
Now we have to do the experiment. Now remember, our experiment, we wanted to find out whether or not this thing actually worked.
That's our UV
This
ray
is the UV bacteria killer Death Star thing. And yeah, exactly. You're going to need some shades
for
this.
science, pod, right?
The idea is you put your phone in here, you close it, the little light turns on, and now the UV lamps are on. It's supposed to kill like 99% of the bacteria in 5 minutes or so.
Right.
We want to give this some lead time, so we're going to start it off. I'm going to do a quick process, and I'm going to explain what I did. I'm going to take 2 of my plates here. These are going to be my control for the experiment.
Right, because you're going to do one before and one after.
Right, but I'm going to do 2 before and 2 after, just so I have a bit more margin of error here, or smaller margin of error.
Sure.
I am going to use these. These are sterile swabs. One of the things to remember about this is don't ever open these until you're ready to swab.
Right.
Because otherwise you open it to contamination. Same thing goes with these. Don't ever open them unless you're actively putting in the agar or you're swabbing.
Right.
Other than that, they should be closed.
Don't sneak up on your coworkers while they're TDing and stick it in their ear.
I don't know what you're talking about. Well, maybe we might see that later. So here's the phone that I'm going to use. This is my phone. It's actually kind of disgusting right now. This is
yeah,
Carlos.
I mean, I don't even think we need to swab it. I see some of the bacteria crawling around on it.
I know. It's like, wow, that one's the size of a small cat. What
big ones on there.
All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to swab twice, and then I'm going to inoculate each of these with that swab. Now, there's see, you can see it says peel. So I'm going to go ahead and peel this, just like that.
Remember, kids, follow the directions.
Don't be a savage and like go. If you touch the swabs in any way with anything,
or drop it on the floor,
throw the swab away. You contaminated. It's done. These are cheap. It's
Don't
not
reuse
worth
swabs.
Unless you're really trying to tick off people in the studio, then reuse it because you're going to love it. It's funny, especially when one of them puts them in his mouth.
No.
Okay, so, and if you notice, if I peel it, it's going to open it from the bottom side. Because again, I don't want to put my fingers anywhere near the cotton tip because that's where I'm going to be collecting the bacteria. I'm going to take one out, like so. Okay, and what I want is I'm going to be rotating the swab. Let's see, I think you might get a better view on this camera here. Yeah, I'm going to rotate the swab as I swab the surface. So I'm just going to, basically, I'm trying to get a nice sample because I don't want any blooms to throw off what my collection data is going to look like. So there we go. And maybe a little bit of the back. Let's go ahead and get some of the back here. And actually, the back might be, actually, there's probably not much on the back because I have it on a cover, but I'm betting there's probably going to be a lot around the corners here because that's where like the cover meets the phone. And it's hard to clean that area.
So I guess if you wanted to be really specific of what areas were different, were more disgusting than other areas of your phone, you would just you would swab one side, do a culture.
And people will do what's called a quadrant system, like divide the phone, and then they'll take, so from quadrant A and quadrant B, and then they'll start saying, well, look, of the sample of 100 phones, quadrant 3 always seems to have the most bacteria.
And quadrant 3 is the mouthpiece or something.
Right. So, okay, now I'm going to inoculate this tray, this Petri dish. What I want to do is I don't want to open this all the way. Again, I want to minimize exposure to the outside world. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to open it really quickly, and I'm going to make a pattern. In this case, I'm going to do a Z with the swab. What I want is I want to have a predictable pattern of where that swab was so that that's where I should see growth. If there's any growth, it's going to happen in that Z. Right. If I start to see growth outside of the Z,
then you know you got contaminated.
I probably got a little contaminated.
Like you sneezed when you opened up the container.
But notice, like as soon as I'm done, I close it. This is sealed. This is done now. I'm not ever going to open this up again. In fact, I'm going to take this swab, this contaminated swab, and I'm going to properly dispose of it. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to seal this, and we're going to call this is experiment control 1. So I need you to write.
Can we write the Z virus or something on it?
This is what's her name? Mila Jovovich.
From what?
From Resident Evil.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and on that one put EXP control 1.
Okay. I don't know if I'll fit all that.
And while you're writing that, I'm going to go ahead and do a second swab here. So again, I'm taking my sterile applicator. It's a nice little cotton swab here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get some sample. I'm going to make sure I'm rotating my swab. I'm going to try to get all this area here because I want a nice, even sample. Let's make sure I get the back of the phone as well. And by the way, taping it is not an optional step. You need to tape it because these lids will not stay on by their own. And you need to make sure they stay shut. Yeah. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to slightly open the tray. I'm going to inoculate it in a very noticeable fashion. I'm using my little Z or N, depending on how you want to look at it. Actually, it's get all sides here.
So I'm going to say you shouldn't try and wipe off the condensation from the top of the lid.
No, stay away from it. These are sterile environments. We're done. I screwed that up. But
even though there's condensation in it, don't try and wipe it up.
We're actually going to store it upside down.
Oh.
So when we put these in the hot box, we're going to put them upside down. So go ahead and put experiment control 2. By the way, your handwriting, way better than mine.
Oh, I can thank drafting for that.
You go ahead and write that. And remember, when you're done, you want to make sure that you properly dispose of the swabs because these could be inoculated with ridiculous germs. So, put them in some sort of biohazard box. Okay, now, so this gives us our controls. We're going to use this to compare against what happens to the phone once it goes through this process. Now, this is the phone soap. This is going to be on a before you buy sometime in the very near future. They say it takes about 5 minutes. All I know is that when the light turns off, it's supposed to be that's done. That's like, yes, you are now germ-free.
Your phone is tan now.
You are tanned and have cataracts. So what we do is we're going to open this thing up. By the way, I did sterilize this before the show. So I used alcohol to make sure that I'm not actually introducing any bacteria by putting it in here.
Do they recommend that for
No, but it's an experiment, why not? Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and put my phone in here. By the way, this also has a charger, so I can charge
while you kill bacteria.
Yeah, bacteria. So if I close this, I don't know if you can see it, but this little blue light, now, there we go. That blue light is now turned on. When the blue light turns off, it means the process is done. It's properly exposed to UV, right? Yeah. The theory behind that is bacteria really don't like UV. They're not an organism that can handle it, ultraviolet, which is why a lot of water treatment...
Neither can we.
Well, we can handle it a whole lot more than they can. Yeah. But this is why like water treatment plants now use UV, or combined with, say, like an ozone generator, because that will basically kill off every organism that's
instead
in
of trying to use chemicals or something like that.
Right. So we've got our 3 controls. We're going to set those aside. The 2 remaining dishes here we're going to use as our samples. So these are going to end up being the samples after the UV bath. Right. And if the indicators are right, if they're right about the marketing, then when we finish the culture in next week, we should see markedly less growth in these, or even no growth. I mean, if there's no growth, that's a huge success.
Right.
Than we see in this.
Okay. I kind of want to do like a swab of just the inside of there before we had put the phone in there.
Yeah, and see, let's talk about that now. And actually, go ahead and run that video that shows some of the swabs that we did around the office. So we went ahead and we looked at some of the surfaces that people...
The grosser surfaces.
The grosser surfaces.
I feel like this should have Jaws music underneath it.
Exactly. Now, remember, you you want to take a wide sampling. You don't want any singular bloom of bacteria to throw off the results.
Ew.
So, TriCaster, mic surfaces. Keyboards are notorious for being ridiculous.
Yep.
I think this is going to be bad. The handle on the sink, because no one washes that handle. And
people barely wash their hands.
People do barely wash their hands, and I think that's going to be a good source of bacteria. But again, those keyboards, those are always gross. Now, there were a couple other places I also wanted to test that I thought might make for a good sample. So I enlisted a couple of the people around the Twit Brick House. We're gonna compare some human bacteria. What grows inside of you?
And you use the same swab for all of this.
Yeah, I actually did not change this, so that probably contaminated the experiment.
Oh God,
just a little bit. But we're gonna get some good results off that stuff.
You're disgusting.
I am a disgusting person.
If the zombie, virus ever does come to be true, it'll be from this experiment.
It'll be from this experiment. Now let's take a look at some of the things that you have to do. Remember, every good experiment you're going to want to plan before you do anything, because you don't want to get halfway through an experiment and go,
oops.
Yeah, because it's done. You throw it away and you start over.
Yeah.
You always start with a hypothesis, and a lot of people use the word hypothesis. They don't actually know what it means, and they don't use it properly. A hypothesis is a proposed explanation for a phenomenon.
Right.
So I observe something, and I make a hypothesis of why that happened.
Right.
Okay, that's what it's supposed to be. And it has to be something that can be tested. If you can't test it, it's not a hypothesis. It's just you being, I think that happened.
Right.
Right. So, for example, our hypothesis here is that exposure to UV light, it's still going, will eliminate most of the bacteria or all of the bacteria on the cell phone. That's my hypothesis.
Right.
Okay, so I know UV light kills bacteria. I believe that a phone inside this device, which is exposing it to UV light, will kill all or most of the bacteria. Now, I need to turn that hypothesis into a test that can either confirm or refute that hypothesis. This is now good science, right?
Right.
So what I don't want is I don't want to now say, okay, now I have to prove my hypothesis. You've just done bad science. The hypothesis, you need to be neutral about the hypothesis. In other words, you have to be just as happy if you disprove a hypothesis as if you prove a hypothesis.
Right.
When you're not, you can talk about to Bryan, my co-host on This Week in Enterprise Tech. He runs into people, educated people, who they really invested in proving that something works. And so they start bending the experiments
Right. You try and make
yeah.
it fit the puzzle that you want it to. Right. Like you make it the way you want it to fit.
Exactly.
And you ignore certain things.
And that's bad, because again, that's bad science. So what we want is we want to create the experiment in a way that will give either chance, proving or disproving the hypothesis. Just, you know, now I'm just looking at results. That's all. I don't want to bend it. I just want to see what happens. And so what I'm going to say is I want to design my experiment so I have one control to make sure that the media is not corrupted, two experiment controls to show a before, and two sample controls, or two sample containers for an after. Right. And what I look at is what do I think my results will be? Well, I know that if something starts growing in the control, the experiment is invalid. I know that I expect to see something growing in experiment control 1 and experiment control 2.
Right, because we're assuming that the phone is filthy to begin with.
Correct. And I expect that the experiment samples will show the level of bacteria post-exposure. That's all I expect.
Right, assuming that UV device is killing bacteria. And if there happens... Or not. Yeah.
And so now I actually look at the results. If these show me no growth, then my experiment's invalid, because it means
there's no bacteria.
I am a wonderful person and I have no bacteria on my phone.
That is amazing.
That's amazing. That's not gonna. Trust me, there will be disgusting stuff growing in here. But what I want to see.
We can only hope.
We can only hope. What I want to see is the growth in the experiment samples. Will they be the same? Will they be markedly less? Or, worst case scenario, will they be more?
They're more powerful than we ever imagined.
It's like, oh my gosh, only the super bacteria survived, and now I've empowered them.
Like they're powered by UV light.
They're nuclear powered. Yeah. It's like the X-Men of bacteria.
Like we come back to the cultures and they're just like growing out of it.
They're just like looking at me like, what?
Big deal. So. Feed me, Dad.
Okay, so and that's what I want to do in an experiment. So if this is something that you're going to be doing with your son or your daughter, because this is a fun experiment.
This is cool, yeah.
It is fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
Everything from, making the control plates, which can be an absolute mess if you're doing it on the stream and you're not really watching what you're doing,
right?
To this, because this does teach proper science. This is what you want people to think of when they want to prove or disprove something. You want them to think, I'm just after the knowledge, I'm just after the results, and I want to give the knowledge as much chance to come out as possible.
Yep, I think
we're
yeah.
Oh, how about this? Okay, so
it's done.
if we take a look at our little there we go. The blue light is off, which means it's run its cycle. That the UV lights in here are no longer on, which means when I open this thing up, it's
yeah, there's gonna be fog coming out of it.
Okay, so before we do that, okay, we're gonna get our two sample trays ready.
Right.
And I've got a brand new set of swabs. So these are still in the sterile container.
Good.
And I'm going to peel it the proper way because I follow instructions.
Yeah.
So what we want to do, it's kind of hard to do this in gloves.
With gloves, yeah.
Yeah, and my gloves.
Do it proper.
Okay. Don't use my teeth.
Yeah.
I always forget that part. I'm always like, ah. There we go. Okay, so I've now breached the sterile container. I'm taking out my swab.
Swab 1.
Swab 1. There's my swab 1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same pattern that I used originally. But I don't want this to touch anything else because that would be bad, because now I'm going to introduce contamination to it. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the container here, and I'm going to do the same sort of swab. But I'm swabbing it before touching it. Now, if I really wanted to and I had time, I would put on a set of sterile gloves, and then I could pick this thing up and I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Just not time for that.
Just not time for that, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat. I'm taking a swab of the front here.
Flip it, yeah.
I'm going to flip it.
Oh, did it just turn the light back on, though?
It's okay. And then I'm going to take a swab of the back, like so. Yeah. Just like that. Okay. Now this is an inoculated media sample here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do my little Z.
Could you do any pattern?
You can, as long as it's your pattern.
Keep track of it.
Yeah, so that's my inoculated sample. So go ahead and tape that shut, and you're going to call that experiment sample 1. And remember, properly dispose of the swab. Now I want to do it again, because again, I have 2 control samples. I want 2 experiment samples. I'm going to take my sterile swab. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and take a nice quick swab of the surface, which should now be germ-free, and it's awesome. It's like, this is germ
Death camp.
You
here.
could eat off of that,
I could
right?
eat off of that. In fact, I will eat off of this later.
Yeah, there's just the corpses of your enemies on that phone now.
And I got to tell you, bacteria corpses are delicious.
Mmm.
All right. So we're gonna do the same thing. We've got our swab here. We're gonna inoculate the media like so with my Dragon Ball Z sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Number one.
What you got, Krillin?
Ain't got nothing.
Okay, experiment sample 2, and we're gonna again properly dispose. And that's it. Once you get that sealed up and labeled, we now have to worry about storing these things, because what we want is we want to store them
Upside down?
Well, first of all, yeah, we're going to do it upside down. And the reason why we're going to do it upside down is because there's condensation. We don't want that dripping down onto our inoculated media.
Right.
If we turn it upside down, the media is not going anywhere. It's a solid gel. The bacteria will still grow. All the colonies will grow.
Yeah.
But the condensation will stay on the lid.
Makes sense.
But we also have to consider how we're going to store it. What we want is we want to facilitate the growth of this bacteria. And believe it or not, did you know that bacteria love body temperature?
Go figure.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Alex to walk around with these in his pockets for the next week.
All right, yeah, that should work.
No, okay. What we're actually going to do is we're creating like a miniature hot box. It's just a cardboard box that has a lamp in it.
Oh, okay.
It should keep it at about 98 degrees. Okay, and that's
a band.
That's a great growth temperature for these things. So once we put these, we're gonna put them in the hot box, and we're just gonna let them sit along with some of the other samples that we've collected here in the TWiT TV network, and that will give you in a week. Actually, we should start to see growth in about 3-4 days. So by next week, we should have clear indications of whether or not we've got any sort of reason to trust
that works.
in our phone.
And if you come back to your hot box and the dishes are just completely missing, does that mean they crawled away?
They crawled away, and yeah. And by the way, so when you're done, when you're done with this stuff, make sure to properly dispose of all hazardous materials.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely dispose of it properly.
Ow, dang it. Now, so in the next episode, assuming that we get some growth, and we didn't just completely screw up the experiment, we're going to go through some of the manuals, because there are some bacteria which you can almost guarantee you're going to find. You're probably going to find fecal chloroform.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's not.
I think I can imagine what that is.
Probably going to find E. coli, because we did some kitchen swabs, so you will find some E. coli. I have no idea what I'm going to find in your ear and Josh's mouth.
I don't think I want to know.
Nasty. But
is there like a corgi bacteria?
Well,
like how do you identify the bacteria once you've got it in there?
Right. We're going to talk a little bit about that next week. But it's by color, it's by size of the colony, it's by how the colony looks, the height of the colony. There's a whole manual that will take you through like different steps. Now remember, there are professionals who spend their entire lives doing this. So obviously I'm not going to be able to give everyone all the knowledge they need to identify every bacterial colony.
But we
in
can,
45
at a
minutes.
glance, look at it and be like, that's gross. That one's really gross. That one's grossest.
Dude,
yeah.
that's horrible. In fact, I see it growing already. Whoa!
That white fuzzy one, yeah, you don't want that one.
Well, actually, the funny part is we're probably going to get some mold in here too. At least in the other samples would be my guess. Yeah.
That snuck in, or it was just also already present on the phone and stuff?
Already present. All right. Actually, I do want to do one last thing before we leave. We haven't done a parting shot for a while. I know we're running short on time, but I love this thing so much.
What is this?
Hey, Brian, have you ever thought about living next to the ocean?
Yeah,
it's kind of cool,
definitely.
right? Waves, crashing, the wind.
Soothes you. Yeah, you
soothing.
listen to the crashing as you go to sleep.
Yeah. Well, what if I told you that you could live in a beachside house, an oceanside house? That was absolutely terrifying. That's what this thing is. This is a beautiful view, but it's embedded into the side of a cliff. They call this, the name of this design, it was created by some Greek architects, is actually called Casa Brutal. So it combines, it's a combination of an industrial feel with a beautiful and yet terrifying view.
Yeah.
Now the architects, and I'm totally going to butcher their name, I'm sorry about this, it's Lurtis Antonios Andos Vasilios and Pantelis Kamporopoulos.
Oh, those guys.
Those guys.
Yeah,
wow,
I've heard
Greek
of
names are crazy. But the entire house it's in a concrete bunker embedded into a cliff face. It uses raw concrete surfaces and a lot of glass. This is what they call the brutalist look.
Right.
Here's some cool things. The roof is glass, and it's a pool over the roof.
So if you're swimming in the pool, people from below get to look up and see you swimming, and if you're swimming, you get to see the people sleeping in the room below you.
This is crazy.
It is kind of crazy. It is a lot of glass. It's a different style. This is a place where I would love to have a party.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to live there.
I would be frightened to live there. Yeah.
What I really like, if you look at the like the staircase, I don't know if they have the picture I saw, but they have a staircase that is glass and it's over the cliff. So as you enter the house,
Oh yeah, at the front of it.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I hope you don't like privacy.
This is cool, but I feel like, yeah, the reflection through the pool would be really, like, how would you block that out at a certain point?
I know, there's no shades in this place.
No shades. And, you know, we live pretty close to the coast here, and I've gone out there and I've seen where the waves have eroded the cliff away and houses have gone, you know, into the ocean.
Can you imagine that happening? JC Calhoun is saying, scariest Apple store ever.
That's kind of what I
looks
imagine,
like.
yeah.
But, you know, can you imagine, there's an earthquake, and so the pool leaks into your bedroom and then brushes you out the front glass window over the cliff into the ocean. That's recycling.
Okay. A cool design, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
there you go. Well, folks, we know that's been a lot of information for this episode of Know How, and well, we want to make sure that you can get all that information in an easy format. So, what do we do, Brian?
Well, it lives at twit.tv /KH. And not only do you have we have show notes there and links to, you know, if you're going to buy some of the stuff that we might have shown on during the episode, go there. We'll have links for those and all of Padre's handy notes.
I like my notes.
What was with the hat last week?
Yeah,
that was.
It was supposed to be I'm the man who knocks.
Right. So that's a Breaking Bad reference.
It was not a good Breaking Bad.
I really
reference.
should finish that show.
Yeah.
But yeah, look at all those notes.
Look at that. See, and we give you step by
notes.
step, so you don't have to watch the show over and over again. Although you can. And by the way, you should tell your friends about Know How. We want to spread the word far and wide. By the way, spreading the word far and wide is our Google Plus group. It's almost 9,000 members. We're just around the cusp of getting there. I mean, when I started the show, we were like 3,000 members. So this is, I love it.
It's grown a lot.
It's a great group.
Kind of like a bacteria in a petri dish.
Except we won't be killing them with bleach.
No, is that what you do with them when you're done?
Well, if you're responsible, you destroy your samples. Because you don't.
These are our babies.
We'll talk
now,
about
though.
it later. We'll talk about it later. But
Okay.
yeah, the worst thing is when people don't destroy their samples and they just go out of control in the garbage. It's great.
So when Google Plus gets too crazy, bleach.
Oh, but it's a great place to go if you've got project ideas and you want help, or if you want to help people with their projects. Please go to Google Plus, look for Know How, join up, and make sure to spread the word about both the show and the group. We really want to grow this. We spend so much time on this show each week because it's a labor of love. We really like doing it.
It's fun.
And you know, we think people might actually enjoy it.
We couldn't do it without viewers like you.
Viewers like you, with PBS station. Also, we can be found on the Twitters.
Yes. The thing that came after Twit that Leo likes to point out. I am at cranky_hippo.
And I'm at Padre SJ. And if you follow us, you get to see him. He goes on some amazing rides when he's not breaking his motorcycle.
Yeah, that was not fun.
And some beautiful pictures. I spent a lot of my time crashing my quads into fences. I'm so sad about that.
That last story you told me, I wanted to see footage of it.
It was brutal. And it was like Wile E. Coyote, because I hit a fence at like 100 miles an hour. And the quad disintegrated, but all the wiring held it together. So it was like splayed against the fence, like,
Why do you hate me, creator?
But you'll see stuff like that on my Twitter account. Oh, and we need to bring in our director.
Yeah, thank the people who help us do this show.
Yeah, his name is...
Sorry, I think your mic's just died.
Put that. What happened?
There it goes.
Well, no, I got his name now. It's Grumple.
What?
Yeah,
Sorry?
it's, isn't it?
Huh? The mics are there's some weird problems going on.
Technical difficulties.
Wow. In any case, you can find our director at A-N-E-L. A-N-E-L. Dang it. You do it.
Don't worry. In post, I'll put like a little lower third.
There you go. Until next time, I'm Father Robert Ballecer.
And I'm Bryan Burnett.
And now that you know how,
go grow it. Or bleach it.